Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
We start today with Monday Night Football. All right, Cowboys fans, let me tell you what happened last night.
What?
Nothing. Dallas's 37-18 victory over the hapless Giants was nothing more than a final dress rehearsal before the real season gets underway Sunday night. Halfway through the season, the Cowboys are halfway to 10-6. Congratulations, hats off. Starting Sunday night, when the Cowboys welcome the Minnesota Vikings into Jerry World, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel, Elliott, and the rest of the Dallas gang will face their first sustained test of the season. The rest of November will be Dallas's Green Mile. Come Thanksgiving night, Dallas will be a 500 ball club. Minnesota, Detroit, New England, and Buffalo will knock Dallas down to earth. Dallas is feasting on bad teams. The Cowboys have now outscored the Giants 72-35 this season. Dallas outscored Washington and Miami by a combined score of 62-27. Dallas is going to lose 3 of its next 4, and there's a better chance of them losing all 4 than splitting 2 of the 4. Yep. Dak lit up another bad team. He threw for 257 yards and 3 touchdowns last night. I'm not falling for the okie doke this time after the first 3 weeks of the season. I was convinced Dak had elevated to the next level and deserved a huge contract. Dak wants to get paid. He has to survive the Green Mile. He needs to play at a high level Sunday night against the Vikings and do it again and again versus the Lions, Patriots, and Bills. Right now, Dak is on pace for 30 TDs and 16 interceptions.
Nice.
Russell Wilson's on pace for 39-2.
Nice, sir.
Deshaun Watson, 32-9.
Ooh.
Hell, even Kirk Cousins is looking at 28-5. We're halfway through the season, and the Cowboys haven't shown us anything we didn't already know. When healthy, Dallas's offensive line is dominant, and Ezekiel Elliott is the best running back in football. When Zeke is dominant in the running game, the Cowboys score a lot of points against bad teams. What are the Cowboys going to do Sunday night against a Minnesota defense that just got embarrassed by Andy Reid and Matt Moore? Can Dak duplicate Matt Moore's clean performance? I have my doubts. I expect the Cowboys to lose Sunday night against Minnesota. Dallas is going to be 6-6 on Thanksgiving night and 7-8 3 days before Christmas. Bah humbug. All right, joining the desk now, Fox Sports college football analyst Reggie Bush, Fox Sports NFL analyst LeVar Arrington. Marcellus, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
Were you impressed by the Cowboys last night?
I was impressed. Let's go back to high school. When you're going through the process of preparation, Coach used to always say, success is not linear. So remember, when you're doing something, not always should you mentally map it on to your ultimate goal because it's not linear in terms of success. So I like that win. Why? A huge win over Philly. You have a bye week and you come out, maybe you got to, fire up old Betsy a little more, slow start, but then finally talent prevailed and the cream rose to the top. And we saw the Dallas Cowboys once again put up 37 points against a divisional familiar foe. So that's difficult to do because of the familiarity. We saw that happen a couple weeks ago when they did it to Philadelphia, which is a better team than the lowly New York Giants. So I'm looking at this, and I'm not trying to say this is a Super Bowl confident moment. I'm not saying that it's an ultimate projection game of what the Cowboys will be. But because success is not linear, and they got the ultimate goal accomplished, which is a W, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's scrappy. The Dallas Cowboys went out there, it started tough, they prevailed, and they went home with the ultimate pride.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
You said that Philly is a better team than the Giants.
I hope.
Right? So then my question is, what impressed you? Which part of this game impressed you more than maybe something they did in the Philly game? Because I think you had a great line. You said they didn't show us anything we didn't already know.
Well, for me, it's 3 straight games for Ezekiel Elliott in terms of 100-plus yards.
Already knew that.
Well, no, we didn't know that because it's only 3 straight games. We didn't say, hey.
We already knew he was great.
Oh, we knew he was great, but we also saw moments this year where he wasn't great, and they were getting out of character in terms of leaning more Dak than Zeke.
Gotcha.
You go through Zeke, then Dak's going to have a cleaner game. First play was an interception.
Agreed.
Outside of that, it was a good game for Dak.
Agreed. And so, to me, that's something that we already knew. We already knew that the offense flows through Zeke, right? And it has to, because the stats show that when Zeke rushes for 100-plus yards, it usually results in a win, and it helps out Dak a lot. We already knew the defense was really good. And I actually was more impressed by the defense that they were able to still have the same success or more success without their star linebacker, Layton who was on the sideline. Sean Lee came in and played well. And so we're going to learn a lot this second half of the season, right? Don't show me how you started. Show me how you finished the season, because it's about to get real for the Cowboys. You got Minnesota. You got to go to New England, to Chicago in December, not easy, and to Philly. And so the game is going to, the division is going to come down to Philly. Like, can they get over that hump? You beat them once at home. You're supposed to do that. Can you go on the road and beat them again when it's going to matter most at the end of the season? Those are the questions that I still have. But this was a good win for the Giants. But was I impressed? No, I wasn't impressed.
Good win for Cowboys.
I mean, sorry for
and I agree. I was impressed with the win because it was a win that they needed. It was a divisional opponent. You got to throw records out of the window. You have to throw how poor the New York Giants are out of the window because it's a rivalry game. Yeah, because it's a rivalry game. You can get – those are the biggest trap games when you're playing against teams that are very familiar with you. So that them winning and going into a hostile environment and winning is impressive. The thing you asked and the thing you mentioned, all right, what are we moving forward with this Cowboys team with a belief? And you mentioned Matt Moore. You know, can they match that performance? Can Dak match that performance? Can they go through that green mile? The green mile is not for Dak. The green mile is not for the personnel of this team. That green mile is for the coaching staff. Can the coaching staff navigate that green mile? Can the coaching staff put Dak Prescott and this personnel that is superior to most of the teams that they're going to play against on that green mile, regardless of record or rank? They are superior personnel-wise, right? Can this coaching staff survive that green mile? That's the biggest question going into this schedule.
Player, it's easy for you to say that.
Oh, okay. As an analyst, I'm looking at it from an analyst's eye, and I'm saying to myself, personnel-wise, they're getting healthy at the right time. You have a backup in a Sean Lee. You have guys on your team that can fill in for some of these injuries, but getting that offensive line healthy is the most important deal. So personnel-wise, I think they're in good position.
I'm going to say the reason I wasn't impressed is because I was so disappointed with Daniel Jones. The rookie quarterback that allegedly had done some nice things looked like trash last night.
Go, DJ. Go away.
They sent a limo for Daniel Jones, and he arrived in first-class service and served them up. Again, the one time he threw downfield was the absolute wrong time to throw downfield, right before halftime. On third down, and he turns the ball over and hands away 3 points. The rest of the night, he was just check down Charlie.
Yeah.
And so that's what, to me, is like the Cowboys didn't face any resistance. But
that's the thing when we talk about going into a hostile environment. One, I don't see going into New York Giants Stadium as a hostile environment. Two, it's a rivalry game, but you're playing against a rookie quarterback that made a ton of mistakes in that football game. So the whole rivalry, we know each other, some of that goes out of the window when you have those kinds of mistakes and you have the kind of season that the Giants have been having up until this point.
Well, they played the Giants week one. Let's be real. Week one, this Dallas defense that you guys have not learned anything about gave up 470 yards in the win. Last night, 271. That's a new learn. Same team, new learn. Maybe different quarterback, I get it. That game also, Ezekiel, Elliott, and the Dallas Cowboys went out there and 89 yards rushing. We didn't see that last night. We learned something new about the Dallas Cowboys. What I'm saying is the familiarity can't be understated. Like, I don't care how good you are, how bad we are. Oh, I know you. I'm not scared of you, bro. I'm not scared of you. So, and Daniel Jones went out there and He's starting to lean the wrong way in terms of turnovers and in terms of inefficiency, because then that starts to harbor a different style of play. Daniel Jones gives this team the best chance to win. But last night, we saw the Dallas Cowboys come back to their formula of success, running the football, playing proper defense. You can say that's what the Dallas Cowboys are, but there have been multiple games this year they haven't shown that, and that's why I was impressed. They went out there and actually showed it.
Were you encouraged by Dak's performance last night?
Yes, Dak's fine. Look, if you ever go to bed thinking about Patrick Mahomes and then bring up Dak, you're not gonna go to bed happy. Let me just tell you right. Like being real, whoever your girlfriend, wife is, if you ever go home and start thinking about the most beautiful person you ever met, and if it ain't them, you ain't gonna go to bed exactly happy. And that's what happens. You can't always imagine the greatest. Dak, for himself, for this franchise, for this organization, is an amazing quarterback in terms of winning and in terms of leadership. Is that always going to show in production? Not necessarily, but remember the contrast of what the Cowboys were without Dak and what they're turning into with Dak.
Well, I don't think any of us are saying that they're great without Dak, like they don't need him. Yes, they do need Dak, but there is a formula to how they win football games. If we're going to sit here, like you said, and wait for him to week in and week out carve up secondaries, well, that's not who he is.
Yeah.
And that's not the formula that the Cowboys use. And so I saw the Cowboys get back to their formula, to their DNA, which is run the football first, play good defense, right? But did Dak make some mistakes in that game that will hurt them against better teams? 100%. You turn that football over in the playoffs against the Saints, against the 49ers, because that's where the road is going to go through right now. Those are going to be points.
Sunday night against Minnesota, what we saw last night, not good enough.
Did we see last year when they were in the playoffs, and who played better, Dak or Zeke? Dak. Y'all, man, run it through Zeke all you want. If it works.
Did they win the game?
No, they didn't.
Lost
but they lost the game because
game.
they ran it through someone who wasn't ready for that moment to do it that day. Dak was. Maybe they should have went away from that.
That's where Dak, or this passing game, or the coaching staff, whoever it is, a combination of three, have to take the next step. Have to take the next step.
I think they'll beat Minnesota. And we love using analogies with wives and girlfriends and stuff.
That's all we got. That's all we got.
But what about when the girlfriend turns and flips the tables on you? So let's turn and flip the tables with Dak here. I'm encouraged with Dak, but what if he's going to bed and he's not thinking of who cares about you thinking about Mahomes? What if I'm looking at my coaching staff and I'm looking at my head coach like, oh, what if I had Andy Reid coaching this team with this personnel? What would we be doing right now? What if I had Kyle Shanahan coaching this team with this personnel right now? I'm just wondering. Okay, so I got to go to bed having the same nightmare that you're having thinking about Mahomes. I'm thinking about Andy Reid and Mr. Shanahan and what he's capable of doing. Dak is fine. The question is, will the play calling and will the game planning and will they be able to adapt and adjust to what these teams are going to do when they get into those games with the Patriots and with the Vikings? That's going to be the key.
Plays you didn't like last night? Did you see some things last night that they left on the table?
No,
from a play calling perspective?
It's not so much last night because, again, now you're talking about a game where the teams are familiar with one another. So when you're looking at the fact that all things given, the personnel was going to win over superior and supreme to the New York Giants. That was supposed to happen. It would have been a bigger story if Dallas lost. But now when you go up against opponents that are a better team, a Vikings team, a Patriots team, now it's going to be more coaching involved with that.
Button it up with this. This is how fine Dak is. 37 points, consecutive outings. Only sacked 10 times this year versus 56 times last season. And that was a wart on his game before. And Dak is top 10 in major statistical categories: passing yards, completion percentage, touchdown passes, and passer rating. Dak's fine.
So we're going to revisit this conversation in a couple weeks.
We're going to
revisit them stats, too.
Whitlock and Wiley, Reggie Bush, and LeVar Arrington are back. Time now for a big story. Let's move to Cam Newton, whose season is over as the Panthers placed him on injured reserve today as he continues to deal with a foot injury. Carolina hasn't missed Cam much since he went down, with Kyle Allen going 5-1 in his absence, prompting speculation about whether Cam would even get his job back when he was healthy again. Question here is, should the Panthers move on from Cam Newton?
Yes. What? And this pains me to say the words that are going to leave my mouth. But it would be fiscally irresponsible not to move on from Cam Newton. And I'll tell you why. He has 1 year left on his deal at $19.1 million for 2020. Non-guaranteed with only $2 million of dead cap money. For those casual fans out there, that means you get rid of Cam Newton for only $2 million. Woo, got to start thinking about it. Got to follow the money here. Second of all, like you said, you're not missing them much on the field. For whatever reason, this team is playing greater than the sum of its parts with Kyle Allen at quarterback versus with Cam Newton. But then also you have to start looking at Cam Newton. He's going to be 31 next time we see him on the football field, playing the game the way he plays it, which is with an athletic base. You also talk about a guy who had 2 shoulder surgeries in the last 2 years and a foot that, by the record so far, has not healed, and the timeline for it healing is uncertain. So a 500 quarterback since the Super Bowl. Damn, I sound like I don't love this dude as much as I love this dude. But the reality is, it's just a business. And you have to move on when you have that opportunity for an out and a quarterback who is making $495,000 this year. Reggie got a car that costs more than that. So the point of it is, it's time to move on, because if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
So who are we moving on to then? If I'm the Panthers, who we moving on to?
We got who we moving on to for the short term.
Amen.
So y'all go. So because this dude has stepped in for a couple games,
and you drafted
and he's won you a couple games.
Couples too.
Y'all ready to just erase the body of work that Cam Newton has put in?
500 since 2015.
And that body ain't the same body of work.
So Kyle Allen comes in, because we always do this. Kyle Allen comes in, he plays well, right? And he comes in when he's playing with house money, right? All he got to do is just go out there and play free.
You draft somebody too,
right?
Reggie.
Okay, but my question is, you know what you're getting out of Cam. Why not at least wait one more year, 2 more years? Huh?
500 in injuries.
Yeah, what you mean we know we get out of Cam? He's 500 since the Super Bowl, bro.
He's lost 8 straight, Reggie.
I know he was MVP last year before injuries, but I'm helping.
This dude is putting a body of work for his team.
And the body's breaking down of work.
And we're ready to just hand the keys over to Kyle Allen, because he's the new kid on the block. But what happens next year when teams have a whole season of tape on Kyle Allen? Now they can game plan for him.
Come on, let me
go get it.
Let me have him.
Preach out.
First of all, it's a rhetorical question to say, are they moving on from him? Because they already moved on from him. That's already taken place, all right? I don't know how much dirt is on top of the casket, or if they've already put the stone in place.
72 inches, son.
But it's already done, all right? So they now placed him on IR. You have 1 year left on the contract. But here's the biggest thing. You brought up Kyle Allen. There was an incorrect assessment of this player. Kyle Allen is 6-1. I get getting the information and saying they're going to come back and be able to try to stop him, and that's what defenses do. But if you're making your judgment as an organization moving forward, we have our franchise guy, McCaffrey. That's first and foremost. Secondly, if we have a quarterback, like we talked about in prior shows, the kid Garoppolo in San Francisco, right? Play your role. Kyle Allen is playing his role, okay? He's 6-1, which means that he could easily be 12-2. Now, whatever you want to do with those.
Tough, but I hear you.
Well, I mean, think about it. Just looking based off of what the record is, you say, okay, if he goes, even if you give another game up, all right, that's still 11 wins. So if you have a formula that has yielded you a 6-1 record, why are we still trying to figure out if he's actually the guy that should be your quarterback?
I don't think he's the guy, but I don't think he's proven he's not the guy. I just think you move on from Cam because it makes financial sense. It makes sense based on his age. It makes sense based on his health. Cam Newton needs a fresh start someplace else. The Ron Rivera Cam Newton formula, we've seen what it can produce. A Super Bowl in 2015, 500 cents. 8 straight losses the last time the guy started as quarterback. I'm not out on Cam. Cam may end up in Chicago. There's a bunch of destinations where Cam may reemerge as a starting quarterback. But in Carolina, it's over. You keep this Kyle Allen, you draft you a quarterback in the first, second, or third round, and you let Kyle Allen and whoever you draft fight it out for very little money over the next 3 to 4 years. that's an ideal
And you can
situation
build out
to
your
get all the
roster.
pieces around it.
By having a Cal Allen in place at the price tag you have him at, you can build out the rest of your roster. You don't necessarily have to panic and try to go find a franchise quarterback with your high
And he's a
draft
restricted
picks.
free agent, so next year they're going to have to get something worked out with him because other teams are going to try and poach him just to drive the price up.
ain't gonna
Can I push back on something?
Oh, let's push.
One, you brought up age, 31. 31 is not old as a
The
quarterback.
way he plays,
Let's just throw that out.
he's running back, quarterback.
Oh, so he's going to have to change the way he plays. But 31 is not old as a quarterback in this
We're
league.
talking about Cam. 31.
Secondly, you brought up Christian McCaffrey. What happens if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt this weekend?
The rules
then
of
what
engage-
happens
the
to your
rules of
franchise?
engagement change.
Yeah.
They change.
What does that mean?
Do they still win all those football games?
No.
Well, what are you doing?
No.
Okay,
They don't.
so
Well, we know
Ron
what happens
Rivera-
when Cam gets hurt. They win.
Ooh, that ain't right. Whitlock, you need
now
to...
you know what that-
look, you know what that was? Look, you know what that was?
1, 2, 3, drop that money.
Yeah! We're joined now by four-time Pro Bowler and Rams offensive lineman Andrew Whitworth. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hey, appreciate it.
Glad to have you. All right, it's kind of tough first question. Are the Rams having a Super Bowl hangover? You know, teams that lose the Super Bowl allegedly struggle in the follow-up season. You guys feel like you're having a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover?
I don't know if I really buy into Super Bowl hangover. I think that's an emotional reaction. I think to me, it's every season's a different year, and you better be prepared that in the NFL, you're going to get everybody's best. And when you go to the Super Bowl, it's the next season, that next year, you're a target. And every single team's coming after you, and they're out to prove it's an easy sell for a head coach. These guys played in the Super Bowl last year. Let's prove who we are when we go against them. And I think when you have, if you have some weak links or you have opportunities where you don't come out and you're not as efficient and you're not as good as you maybe thought you were or maybe you think you can be, people are out to get you, and you better be prepared. And that's what this league's all about.
Let me just state for the record, this is the most pressure this desk and these chairs has ever faced. And there's only 3 of us up here. Big Whitworth, you know, tip the
Whit's
scale.
lost a little weight, though. But
Yeah, he's leaner than all of us up here. Last year, looking at the metrics, some of the numbers, you guys had arguably the best offensive line. This year, towards the bottom of the league. Is the offensive line struggling this year?
I think really you look at it, it's new pieces, it's new group, and I think anytime you can't really go away from, you look at continuity and what it does to offensive line groups. I think it's easy to look around the league and find the groups that have played together, that have been together the longest. They're the most efficient and they play the best. And so when you add 2 basically rookies, they didn't play last year, they're second-year players, and then even in that situation, we've got guys hurt and another rookie stepping in or another young guy. There's going to be things that are off, and that's the reality of there's a growing process. But I think what we really take in and we look at is in these last couple weeks, really even the last 3 or 4 weeks, even with some of the losses, there's been positive steps in the right direction. Watching these young kids learn how to play the game. You can watch as much tape as you want, but the first time you feel a Geno Atkins bull or you get a bull rush from Gerald McCoy or whoever it is every week, these young guys find out real quick, all right, this is what it's going to take this week. And for a young player, that's what it's like as a lineman. Every single week, that new guy you're facing, that's the very first time you felt what that move feels like. And you got to grow. And so I think it's really, you know, it's up to myself, it's up to our leadership, Marion Cromer, all of us, to keep these guys just head down, focus on the process, and realize that, man, each and every week get better and get a part of this, and let's get hot and let's see where we go.
those of us in the media spend a lot of time the last year. What's the matter with Todd Gurley? Is Todd Gurley healthy? Listening to your explanation about the offensive line, maybe Todd Gurley's fine and just it's a lack of continuity with the offensive line. Is that what's the problem?
Well, I think it's a mixture. I think that anything, there's no one way that things are. And it's a reality of, hey, for us and Todd, it's us learning, it's us finding a way as a continuity, as a group to play well, but then also Todd figuring out, hey, how we're going to block things, how plays are going to unfold, because with every group, it's going to unfold differently. If you got, a big heavy guard in there or a different guy, kind of center that's going to reach guys a certain way, the back's got to learn how to feel those things. And so it takes time together. And then also, I would say there's moments where we haven't given Todd a chance. I mean, if there's people in the backfield the second he's getting the ball, if there's plays where guys are unblocked, linebackers in the hole, the truth is you go look at a lot of these games, very rarely are these backs honestly breaking every single tackle at the line of scrimmage. A lot of the times when you see successful runs, they've gotten a great head start, there's a lot of motion, and then all of a sudden they get people in space, they get people where they're in the opportunity where they're by themselves one-on-one trying to make a tackle, and that's where they can excel. We got to give him those opportunities.
All right. Last offseason, I was out with Les Snead at a football camp, and I told Les Snead, man, y'all got too many personalities. Yeah, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, y'all feel like y'all can coach everybody. Y'all go on to prove me wrong. I'm an idiot. Big personality team, had a lot of success. Talib, Peters now gone. Is the personality, the chemistry of this team different from last year?
I wouldn't say the personalities are different. I mean, Aqib and Marcus are guys that, you know what, I got along with from day one and had a ton of respect for. I mean, probably, you know, two guys that I would say in my career playing with Adam Jones in Cincinnati, you know, just misunderstood. And a lot of people not understanding really that ball and being successful and a lot of the things those guys, you know, were able to turn around from what people say about them. What they do, what Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib did nothing but show me is, hey, every single day they were about ball. Every single day they were about how do we be successful as a team. They were tremendous teammates. I mean, Aqib is a guy that, man, the wealth of knowledge that guy has about the game. Wow. I mean, and what an influence he was on Marcus. You could see a difference when he was hurt and not around Marcus, just the influence it had on Marcus as a player and the knowledge Marcus got from Aqib being around him. I think that those guys, honestly, were for guys that were part of us being successful. And with them gone, you know what? Football's football, and it's a business. And the Rams are trying their best way to be, you know, the best they can be. And now we have Jalen with us, who, to me, another guy that, man, I mean, what a great teammate he's been the 2 weeks we've been around him and how focused he is. He's an elite competitor, to say the least.
Yeah, Jared Goff, let's talk about your quarterback. What a ride. 0-7, his first year, rookie season, to a Super Bowl quarterback, to getting paid, drinks on him. And then there's this contract pressure, pre and post Jared Goff. What are you seeing this year?
You know what? I see Jared as a kid who's got a potential to be a tremendous leader and football player in this league for a long time. He's made of the right stuff. He's a tremendous kid. He doesn't care about any of the things that are outside of football. What matters to him is being a good teammate, being a good football player, finding a way. Was he green? Was he a young kid from Cal that you could tell played in a spread offense and he's got a lot to learn when we first got here? No question. But you know what? I've never seen him once complain or you know what? It was a guy that I used to say, like, you get him hit or he gets hit in a game, like, it never even references to him, like, why he got hit or anything. It's like, oh, man, I could have got it out faster, or, oh, man, I should have moved over for you. You know, that kind of stuff. And it's like, that to me is what I remember about quarterbacks and their mentality is that, hey, there's a way I can make this play work. I got to find a way to make it work. And for him, more experience, more time playing in this game, I think he's only going to get better because when you see him with a clean pocket and you see what he can do with delivering the football with accuracy and putting it on people down the football field, when he has it, it's special.
Andrew, you played a long time, 4 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pros. Going to ask you to throw your don't be modest here. You ever think about, man, if I win a Super Bowl, I have a Hall of Fame case to make? Do you ever think about that?
I mean, I think you'd be lying if you don't think about that.
Boy, you
right?
gotta stop lying.
I ain't gonna sit up here and lie, right?
Yeah, right.
You gotta be honest. So, yeah, I mean, you know what's funny is the young guys every day in stretch, they're always asking me these hypothetical questions. They're like, all right, well, listen, so if we win a Super Bowl this year, you know, would you play one more year? If we don't win it this year, but you think we could next year, you know, would you play one more year? How many more years, you know, you think you'd play? And you know what? I think honestly, yeah, I think I look at my career and you know, the first thing you can do as a lineman is like, hey, there's really no statistics that we can really gather that are great for linemen to say, all right, this guy should be in the Hall of Fame because of this. Because, you know, if you really look at it, Joe Thomas considered to be a first ballot guy, right? Because of how he's played, but never won anything. And really, you know, you look at their career, just never won any games. And so it's like, all right, well, then how much was the influence of how good he was and him as a person influence a locker room and a team to win, right? So that's a hard argument, but he was a tremendous football player. So when I look at my career and I go, hey, you know what? Do I feel like I played at an elite level? Do I feel like I've won a lot of games? And when I look at my career, I'm over 500 in 14 years.
And you played in Cincinnati.
And I played in Cincinnati, and I came to a Rams team that was 0 and whatever the year before I got here. And now I've, you know, had the accomplishment last week of becoming the second lineman ever to win against all 32 teams as a starter. You know what? I think there's a lot there to be proud of, and then to realize
Who's the other guy, Jackie Slater? Maybe?
I don't know. I've asked her.
Who cares?
I would love to know. They're 1 of 2, and then I think I was the 12th ever. So I mean, you know, there's only been 12 guys that have done it. So it's, to me, it's like that's something to be proud of, and that's something I'll walk away and you can't take that from me. You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, those are the kind of things I'll be proud of, and if they lead to me being in the Hall of Fame, awesome.
Man, I'm proud of you for warming up to that answer because you got there at the end, boy.
I got there.
You had that evidence.
Hey, you think I didn't have it? I got it in the phone. Hold on.
Since y'all really want to know.
Yeah,
My wife just asked me this question.
That was so good. Okay, you talk about coming to a Rams team that wasn't this Rams team, and we had some comments today about the LA Chargers and the embrace or the lack thereof, and Dean Spanos. What do you feel has been the level of support and how you've been embraced as a Ram for LA?
I think it's been great since I've been here, and really with the success we've had, it's built. But I'm not gonna lie, I tell people all the time, I came out the first game, we played Indianapolis at home. That first home game here in 2017, I walked in I ran out the tunnel and said, what did I sign up to do? Because there was hardly anybody in the stands. Yeah. I felt like I was playing in a high school football game. And I was like, man, whew, like the support here, like, wow, okay, this is gonna take time. Yeah. But I also played in Cincinnati during an era where we had a stretch of bad years and the fan base dropped. And then all of a sudden when Andy Dalton and A.J. Green and all of us got together in 11 and we started our streak going to the playoffs, that fan base came back. And so it was a great opportunity for me to tell guys, hey, man, listen, I'm just promising you, if we do the right things, we win football games, this thing will build. And it has. We've had more opportunities to really have our fans show up. You look at the Saints game, different big game that we've had at home, where the crowd has been a factor. Now, it's still going to be tough because it's L.A. and you got to keep it 100. On a Sunday in L.A., like, if I wasn't playing, chances I'm going to a football game ain't real good either. So there's a lot of things you can get out there and do. So I'm probably sitting on the beach somewhere. But you know what? That's the reality of the city we play in.
Andrew, I think you got a bright future as a broadcaster potentially, but I'm going to put you to the ultimate test here. Seriously. How many points will Alabama beat LSU by?
Oh!
-8. No, 7. What's the spread? I don't know. But go Tigers, man. I'm going to be flying to Pittsburgh during that, but when I land, I'm going to check that score and we're going to get it done.
You believe, really?
I believe.
It's Nick Saban in Alabama.
I believe. I understand. I was his first recruiting class. Nick's my guy. I played for him. We won a national championship together. I believe in Nick. He's everything I believe in coaching, I believe in Nick. And but you know what? It's the Tigers, and it's a different year.
Now, Andrew, I just got word of the other offensive lineman, Jake Scott. Okay. Heard of him?
Dolphins? Maybe?
No.
Yeah, Dolphins.
He's a beast, though.
I know offensive linemen. That's how I know my history. Whitlock and Wiley, LeVar Arrington's back with us. Time now for Darnell's question of the day. Darnell, homeboy, take it away.
Yes, sir. Let's move to last night's Cowboys-Giants game, where Michael Bennett made his debut for Dallas and decided to stand for the national anthem before the game. We all know Bennett has been one of the most outspoken supporters of Colin Kaepernick, and last night was his first time he had stood for the anthem since 2016. But Jerry Jones has made a point of not having any Cowboys players protest during the anthem. I want to ask you guys, do you respect Bennett for standing last night?
I do. I think it's a mature decision. I think that for all the protesters that are left, Kenny Stills and Eric Reed, at this point, you're not drawing attention to what you say you're drawing attention to. Most people have moved on. I've been a critic of Michael Bennett previously, particularly the incident in Las Vegas and some other things. But yeah, I got respect for him. I think that if he made a business decision because Jerry Jones asked him to, I got no problem with that.
Yeah, I fully respect it. Talking about him still protesting and kneeling all the way back to Colin Kaepernick in the first one. You got to respect that kneeling was a means to an end, right? It wasn't just an attention grab. It was for an immediate action or hopefully a legislation or a change in mindset. So it was to service something greater. And if you come to an agreement with Jerry Jones about something greater in terms of his support and his resources, his understanding, his respect, and you guys can do that in a mature setting, confidentially, then of course you should come out with a different representation of what your beliefs are. That doesn't mean you still don't have those beliefs. It just means now I'm going to redirect the energy towards what I'm trying to bring awareness to so that I can see a greater resolve. So I love this moment. For everyone else, what, two?
Kenny Stills, Reed, I think. Or...
Two left. That's what they're doing. They're still in their mindset of thinking that that's the greatest way to close the gap of awareness to action. For me, it's not the way I favor, but I'm glad Michael Bennett has come to a different resolution.
I think respect is a strong word to place on it. He did what he felt was right in the moment. So I'm not going to go as far as to say I respect it. I've had an opportunity to interview them. I don't know them very well, the Bennett brothers, but I know that they're very smart and very uniquely wired individuals. So looking at the scenario, that without piggybacking off of what you guys have already stated, I mean, they're intelligent people. They're not simple at all. So to understand the mind of what goes into why he was kneeling in the first place, I'm not one to question anyone's convictions, beliefs, and what it is that they're standing for. But I will ultimately say that if, in this case, Michael Bennett did not feel he was benefiting the cause that was most important to him by taking that knee or standing up, he's going to defer on whatever that action was going to be that he would take. So they're well thought out. The things that they've done are well thought out in most cases that I've observed.
Well, I would say this, what was also well thought out or at least considered was Jerry Jones was emphatic that everyone's going to stand for that. And we knew that Michael Bennett has been protesting, so there had to be some different resolution.
There was a punch list.
It wasn't just a moment, as you said.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a moment.
You gotta assume there was a punch list of things, and that was discussed. That was 100% discussed before they got to this game.
Look, I think a lot of people, and this is where I give Jerry credit, because I do think he engaged with Michael Bennett on this. I think a lot of owners are afraid to engage on this issue and express what they really think because there's great risk. You got a player that'll run to the media and say, oh, my God, the owner tried to force me to do X, Y, and Z. And so I have respect for Jerry for engaging with Michael Bennett on this and Michael Bennett's decision. I'm going to say something that surprises me to some degree is Eric Reed, who continues to kneel. I get it. He has a personal connection to Colin Kaepernick, and to me, he will continue to kneel as long as Colin Kaepernick's not in the league. Yeah. And I get it. They're friends. He did this in San Francisco initially to support Colin Kaepernick, not leave him out there on an island, and he's not going to leave this dude out on an island. Hats off. Mm-hmm. Kenny Stills, I think the guy needs to cut it out and stand up and move on because it's just not generating a conversation. It's not provoking any action. It's mostly like, I've been doing this and I'll look bad if I quit, where Michael Bennett is man enough to say, you know what? I'm going to stand up. If some people don't like it, I'll deal with that. No disrespect to Colin Kaepernick, no disrespect to Eric Reed. Again, I get what Eric Reed's doing and actually have a measure of respect for it.
Let's be real on this, all right? If you're too nervous to stand back up, what type of a man are you anyway? As a man, you make your decisions. I took the knee as a man to represent what I felt was injustices that were being done and being served. If I decide to stand up at any given point in time that I stand up, that is my right to stand up, which means that it was very genuine when you took the knee in the first place. If you stand on the knee because you feel like, I'm going to be hated on. I'm on the porch now. I've gone inside the house. No, if you're rolling with that preconceived notion to begin with, then you kneel for the wrong purposes anyway. So I respect that. I respect that.
You know, it's funny that there are forces, dynamics at play that may be even greater than your beliefs. Reading this book called Sapiens, it's an amazing book. Anybody out there want to read it? But let's talk about the pressures of solidarity. Mob mentality of how you get almost mindless sometimes because of the numbers, the quantity. And one thing human beings have perfected is having a story or a belief and then aggregating around that and then try to displace yourself from that.
I see where you're going.
It's difficult, right? So that's what Kenny Stills. For me, Kenny Stills is like still living in that ecosystem. As you said, when you talk about Eric Reed, there's a different response. There's a different issue at play. Martha Ford, remember the Detroit Lions owner who came out and said, players, I understand. Can you please stand up and whatever support I can lend and resources, whatever that may look like, I will do it. As a player, what else could you ask for?
You're trying to invoke change. You're trying to create the conversation.
Yeah, the conversation that leads to the action, which leads to the changes really at the street level, which this is totally being enforced and executed. So if you're not in a direct connection with that in terms of your actions, then they
stand your tail up.
Joined by Fox football experts Eric Mangini and LeVar Arrington. All right, gents, let's have the most fearless discussion in sports.
Okay.
Let's discuss Baltimore quarterback Lamar Jackson, who is an MVP favorite according to Fox Bet, and who is allegedly proving all of his 2018 pre-draft critics wrong. In my view, it's premature to argue that Jackson has proven his draft skeptics wrong. What has really transpired halfway through Jackson's sophomore season is the Baltimore Ravens have proven their draft skeptics wrong. You can build an effective NFL offense around a quarterback who is a better runner than thrower. That's what's been proven so far. John Harbaugh and the Ravens have scrapped modern tradition and constructed an offensive system that utilizes the quarterback as a second tailback and a moderate passer. Jackson's draft skeptics argue that it would be very difficult to develop Jackson into a championship-level pocket passer. By its own admission, Baltimore hasn't done that. Baltimore's +1 offense is built around an extra blocker in the running game and using that extra man to unleash Jackson as a runner a dozen times a game. At this point, Jackson is really no different from Vince Young, Tim Tebow, Colin Kaepernick, and Robert Griffin III, except the Ravens are hyper-committed to running an offense that fully exploits their quarterback's running skills. It's working in the short term. Opponents have no real way to prepare for the unique offense. Both Jackson and running back Mark Ingram are on pace to eclipse 1,000 rushing yards. They're the new Michael Vick and Warwick Dunn, who did it in 2006 in Atlanta. The Ravens are 6-2 and sit atop the AFC North. But is this offense sustainable? And perhaps more important, is this offense a sound long-term plan for Lamar Jackson? Can a quarterback get a lucrative second contract running the +1 offense? NFL running backs struggle to get a second contract because of the wear and tear on their bodies from running the football. In a year or two, how much will Baltimore be willing to pay a quarterback who has carried the ball as often as Jackson has? Michael Vick never averaged more than 8 carries a game in any single season. Vick averaged 6 carries a game over the course of his career. Lamar is averaging twice that this season. Lamar's on a rookie contract. He's earning around $1 million in salary this season. Will he be healthy when it's time to restructure that deal? He's playing in an offense that accentuates the importance of his knees and legs. A pocket passer can hurt his legs and still retain all of his contract value. Patrick Mahomes dislocated his kneecap. He's still getting $40 million this offseason. It's great that Baltimore has revolutionized NFL offenses with the +1 attack. It's going to be interesting to see if the Ravens are willing to revolutionize the way running quarterbacks are valued at the negotiating table. The Ravens are gambling with Lamar's money. They're hoping he can deliver a Super Bowl before he gets hurt and before they have to pay him like he's a pocket passer. All right, guys, Marcel, let's get us rolling. Will Lamar Jackson crash land like Vince Young, Tim Tebow, RG3, and Colin Kaepernick? No, I don't think he will. I think the core of this conversation, looking at the quarterback position and its evolution all the way back, if you are a historian or purist of the game, you remember Fran Tarkenton, and you go all the way back to Steve Young. And I remember when Steve Young was sitting there on the bench and everyone was saying, well, part of the reason he's staying on the bench is because he's going to run when he gets the ball at the quarterback position. And it wasn't about complexion. It was just about that's not how we want to play football from that position. So the core of this conversation to me is, do you have a system that is designed and can execute the physicality out of a running quarterback so you can preserve him? And then I look at Lamar Jackson and I see his carries, and it seems like because of the commitment from the Baltimore Ravens, they're actually performing that. The first touchdown, you saw him. He actually did a pirouette. He danced in the air because no one was around him for 5 yards. A lot of design runs where he just taps out of bounds. Sliding, Russell Wilson style, those kind of things. But when I think of him, I think of Steve Young, who had a Hall of Fame career. And I know where Lamar Jackson is taking the game. He's just the next iteration of what's coming. If you don't like Lamar Jackson running the football, you're going to hate tomorrow's NFL because you coach at the high school level. I go to high school games and Pop Warner games because I always want to see what's next. And they are looking for anyone 6 feet and above who used to play receiver, who used to want to play running back. And they said, can you throw?
And they're finding that guy to now bring the new iteration of the 2.0 quarterback. Lamar Jackson is now one of our latest examples.
Yeah, there's nothing revolutionary about this offense at all. This is San Francisco's offense back with Colin Kaepernick. It's what Greg Roman ran with Colin, and it's what John Harbaugh saw from Jim Harbaugh and dealt with in the Super Bowl. And what they did is they went and got Greg Roman, who wants to run this system, and they got a quarterback that fits that system. And you could say they're gambling with his money. You mentioned that, but they're actually putting him in the best position to be successful and get that next contract by using the skill set that is most dominant now. The question is whether or not he's going to be able to evolve enough as a passer so that when the game is on the line and you have to throw the ball, whether he can do that. If you can run this offense the way that they want to run it, in the style the way they want to run it, and not have to deal with being behind, great. But when you get behind, that's when the deficiencies start to come out, and that's when a lot of guys they can't produce on the next level.
Before you go, LeVar, you don't think an organization, the Baltimore Ravens in specific, in 2 years are going to be like, are we going to pay this dude $30 million when he plays a style of quarterback that puts him in harm's way more than a typical pocket quarterback?
Absolutely. They're gonna worry about that. But they're maximizing his skill set. They have a coordinator that wanted this type of quarterback, and it's gonna put him in the conversation for that salary as opposed to vice versa. And look, Colin got an extension. It wasn't a huge extension, but it was an extension at that time, and he opted out of his contract. And we all know the things that surround Colin Kaepernick. To say he just crashed and burned, I don't think that's a fair depiction of what happened to him as a player and in that system, which he was very good at.
I don't think he'll crash and burn, and I think the X factor that we have not mentioned yet is one RG3. I think what quarterbacks, it's always been considered taboo to be a running quarterback. I think Mike Vick made it
in the NFL.
In the NFL, Mike Vick made it fun and simple and easy to justify why running was such a vital part of success at the position. But then when you look at what RG3 was able to do, Lamar Jackson, I covered RG3. Lamar Jackson is, in terms of what he's accomplished, sure, it seems more, but it is really no different than what RG3 did in his first season as an NFL pro. What went wrong in that situation and why it won't go wrong with Lamar Jackson in this situation is because you do have supportive coaching staff. You do have a person that understood the conversation between running quarterback versus throwing quarterback. It's interesting. When you talk about extra dimensions, and you say a guy, you label them and you put them in the box of he is a one-read quarterback. Well, here's the reality of that. If you're a running quarterback, your extra dimension are your legs. You know why you have to be able to find another option when you're a pocket passing quarterback? You know why that second and third read is very important? Because you don't have any other dimensions to you. You have to throw the ball, and you're going to find somebody else that can catch the ball and run. So it's not.
I like your point.
It's not a detraction.
No, I like your point because what you're saying, running the football is a read.
Yes.
That can be a second or third.
Correct.
I get it. I get it. The only issue, I'm just telling you, if the injuries are a part of football, everybody on the roster at some point virtually gets injured. When this guy's legs get hurt from running, his value diminishes a lot more than when Tom Brady hurt his knee and his value didn't diminish at all.
It's no different than any other player that goes out there on that field.
But it is different. Every single practice, the quarterback's in a red jersey. Don't hit the quarterback. Don't touch the quarterback. You pay a left tackle one of the highest rates of any offensive lineman because you don't want the quarterback to get hit. And now you're going to expose the quarterback to multiple hits a game. If he jams his thumb, if he hurts his toe, if anything, if you're relying on him just being a runner and you're going to put all this extra pressure and punishment on him, it's just it's just a law of averages. It's a law of averages before you get hurt. And the type of runs that they run, there are a lot of inside the tackle box runs
where it's a borderline quarterback power, and he's getting blown up.
It's not borderline, it is. It's an ISO.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there's a lot of big, strong, fast men that deliver a significant amount of punishment, and you take enough of that, it's just averages.
Okay, you say the law of averages, so let's get to the numbers, and it's hard to quantify the risk factor outside the pocket to inside the pocket. For every time you tell me a RG3, I say, look.
He got hurt outside the pocket.
Peyton Manning was getting tore up to the tune of 4 neck surgeries in the pocket. Tom Brady, we talk about Drew Brees this year. Like all these Hall of Fame, future Hall of Fame pocket passers also went through hell staying there in the pocket. Now, I tell you, from the defensive mindset and being in the defensive line room, whenever I saw a statue back there, I smiled.
Way better.
Because you just knew where he would go. Now, there is an opportunity cost that comes related to if you're going to stay in that pocket, you could beat us. The fastest thing on that field is not Tyreek Hill, it's the ball. And so if you could dart that ball as a pocket passer, you have an advantage over even the running quarterback. But how do you quantify the risk factor to say it's not worth taking that risk because of the reward? You can't game plan fully for a mobile quarterback that is adequate with his arm.
You can game plan fully. If you get the lead, that mobile quarterback has a real issue if he's not a thrower. And that's what happens a lot of times is guys who the answer is always their feet never develop that second pitch because their answer is always, I'm going to scramble. Well, when that's not working out, what do you go to? What's next? And you say Tom Brady, he's 42 years old. He's still playing. Yeah. Peyton Manning, he played at 37, 38 years, whatever he is. And the difference is if a blitz comes, you can throw the ball away and decide not to take a hit. If you're running, especially in the box, you don't really have a lot of options to get to the sideline.
Well, it's unfair to always go to that because the mindset of the NFL and the culture wasn't allowing for the running quarterbacks to have their opportunities. We were just talking about Antoine Randall, who was a quarterback in college. Don't you come to the NFL trying to be, and I'm not using him as an example, but you didn't have the quantity of guys who were allowed to be running quarterbacks in the NFL to even have that.
My issue, though, Marcellus, is let's say, and let's don't debate it, but let's say he runs a 4.3 right now. At some point,
it's going to slow down.
He's going to run a 4.4. If he hurts his knee, he could drop all the way down to a 4.55, 4.6, and now he's not as valuable as a runner from the quarterback position. When Tom Brady came into the league running a 5.2, and he probably runs a 5.5 now.
Whatever.
No difference.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
But this is creating a different conversation, though. I think when you're looking at the conversation of can you win with Lamar Jackson and can you win Super Bowls? You can, and I don't know if they can win Super Bowls with him, but if they are able to win those Super Bowls, I think the conversation now becomes how do you fairly compensate a guy that could possibly get injured by being a running quarterback?
And lose much of his value if he does get hurt. And again,
but yet you're using that value now to get your Super Bowls now. So how do you? I think that becomes the bigger conversation.
Let me say this. You keep saying Super Bowls. They haven't gotten a Super Bowl yet. What they got was John Harbaugh got a contract extension. A nice fat payday. They're gonna have a nice season this year based on regular season record. He may get another contract. But when it's time to pay Lamar, that's when Baltimore is going to tell the full truth about what they believe about this +1 offense and this running quarterback system, because I think the likelihood of him getting hurt or them saying, damn, can we get another 2 or 3 years out of this guy running the football? It's just a matter of time. If Zeke Elliott loses value once he gets to age 29, why wouldn't a running quarterback?
Well, the running quarterback has an option to throw the ball primarily, where you don't have that as the running back. So you're taking all the hell every single time. Steve Young played 15 years. Peyton Manning played 17 years.
Steve Young's one of the most precise passers in NFL history.
Yes, and I'm saying the evolution of...
not the most precise.
Dude, you're talking about one of my favorites. Yeah. The evolution of Lamar Jackson in the passing game has to match what we already see in the running game. Can it? I don't know. But for me, that's what I would place my bet in.
LeVar Arrington and Eric Mangini are back. Let's move to the Packers, who got trounced by the Chargers in L.A. Sunday, losing 26-11 in a game where Aaron Rodgers and the offense looked completely overmatched. But after the game, Rodgers had some choice words for his teammates about their lack of preparation.
I don't think it was complacency at all. I just think that, whether it was the trip, not everybody taking care of themselves the right way over the 2 days, or we're just tired, or the differences in temperature. But those are just excuses. And the facts are that we weren't locked in from the start. So I'm just talking about the offensive side of the ball. We got to be, honest with our, our routine and decisions we made the last 48 hours, and make sure that our head's in the right place the next time we come on a big road trip, which will just be in 3 weeks.
All right, those words, leadership or finger pointing?
Finger pointing. Telling the truth, but finger pointing. They caught the LA flu, as they say, huh? You come to LA, oh, man, something got me. Yeah, it was that club at Poppy's or wherever the hell they were. I know some LA natives on this roster, too, and I'm not going to call them out, but y'all do your own research. It's interesting that he brings this up. Even though I played in the era, and counting the Hall of Famers that I played with, that Hall of Fame is littered with guys who
over-partied.
who were responsible while being irresponsible. Mm-hmm. And a veteran, future Hall of Famer, it's weird for him to come out and say that when if you took notice of that in the moment, what did you say to those guys? To come to the media, to come to us to say, let's paint this and frame this differently post-game, does nothing for those guys if that's really your intent and sincerity. So this is finger pointing. You tell the truth, but for what reason, Aaron?
Well, I'm usually a little harsh on Aaron Rodgers in terms of finger pointing or leadership. I don't see this as finger pointing. There's a saying, success is like a martini. It relaxes you, and they've been very successful, and I think they exhaled a little bit, and they go out there, and guys weren't doing the things that they were supposed to do. And Aaron has won a lot of games, and he understands how to deal with success. And part of this might have been the message for the young head coach who's never gone through this process of, I shouldn't be the one who has to put my foot down. I shouldn't be the one who needs to bring attention to what happened. You need to do this. And he did it in a way that he could have been a lot harder. He could have been a lot more direct. This, to me, was a message of, hey, as a young head coach, and we've been successful, you need to get this under control.
Do you like martinis? I never liked the glasses. So
I like that analogy.
I liked it.
I thought it was a dope
Limit
analogy.
drops for me, though.
I just never had them because I never liked the glasses they came in. This is leadership by finger pointing, if you ask me.
I'm with
He
you.
is finger pointing, but he is being a leader, in my opinion. Now, here's what's interesting. The culture of the Green Bay Packers is what? It's a team, the only team that doesn't have an owner, right? The shares are held by the community, guys. So when you're talking about someone like the beloved Aaron Rodgers, he has settled into becoming the spokesperson for this team. So when he says those things that he's saying, he's giving information to his shareholders. He's talking to the people that truly matter to his paycheck. And,
wow.
And I think that you have to understand that I don't think that he was trying to indict his teammates. This has been before. We talked about what was he going at his head coach by going with being supportive of his defensive coordinator. I think he is still putting the weight of that loss, just like before. He's putting the weight on what this team does and doesn't do on that offensive unit. He made it very clear it was the offense that needed to do better, and those excuses he gave. He didn't throw it at the defense.
Let's be real. One, for you to even divide the team up is not true leadership.
Okay.
That's more finger pointing, because now, it's not 53, it's only 26, 27 to deal with. We can narrow down who you're talking about. Two, one finger pointed out, three back at you, what they say, one up to the sky, because Aaron had his season low in terms of yardage and production, 11 points.
But he's going to stay on his side of the ball, Marcellus. Offensive guys don't try to manage. Like, I wish the quarterback would manage our side of the ball.
No, I would say either don't say it or you say it for all.
Look, I think Green Bay is a unique situation. Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm sure y'all have all been there. You've all been there.
It's very
a lot
cold
for brothers to do. So, to me, I think the guys politely saying, came out to L.A., People been locked up in Green Bay.
They got a
Locked up.
casino.
They got Milwaukee and Chicago down the street. Let's go get it.
That ain't L.A. And I think this is leadership. I think this is
leadership.
Yeah, I think he's holding the guys. And again, Martini and success. And you got a bunch of unproven wide receivers that have had a bunch of success because they eating off of Aaron Rodgers. And he's like, y'all didn't deliver out here in L.A. because y'all Mickey Mousing around out here in L.A.
Eat.
That's what and I don't think at 35 years old, with all the equity he's got in the organization, knowing like we're in the middle of a special season, cut it out, guys. I only got so many of these
Cut it out, guys, or cut it out, coach. When you get the itinerary and it says we flying to L.A. early.
Sometimes you got to discipline yourself.
Friday? Okay, coach, why are we flying out early? If you got a problem with it, or you don't have a problem with it. So then you see the guys and you're like, you know when curfew is, and guess who doesn't have a curfew? Coaches. Like, they're the ones that's running. It's like, so who are you talking about?
Is that true, Coach Mangini?
No, look,
was you out in the club? Was you making it rain, Coach?
Hold on, we got to be quick.
Crazy in the
Bootsy
club.
Bellows.
When you're flying out early, you try different ways. You go out the day of, you fly out early. You're trying to find the right mix. At the end of the day, he's trying to say, if we want to keep going at the rate that we're going, we're going to have to be hardcore with this and can't take these mini vacations.
Uncle Jimmy's here to help us talk about our approval rating for Dak Prescott.
No.
Who's the big dummy of the day?
You.
Marcellus?
Oh, damn. What'd I say?
Look here, man. You said
no
that
curfew?
It don't matter how beautiful of a woman you are, you go to bed dreaming of Patrick Mahomes.
You see, that's what the
I'm the
internet
biggest
does.
Chief fan I know.
That's the internet.
And I done slept with some of the biggest women you know. And I ain't never went to bed thinking about Patrick Mahomes.
You don't know about that quarterback love.
I don't want to know about that love.
Oh, man. Headline. I can see it coming.
Let's move to Dak Prescott.
You need a woman
pretty
when
good
you
last
jump up on
night.
there and make your nose bleed.
In a win over the hapless Giants, Dak is still waiting for his new deal to get done. Marcellus.
Yes.
You think that performance last night earned Dak any money?
Oh, let me just tell you this. Every year you stay in this league because the cap goes up, you're making money, let alone winning. And Dak went out there and won a game. So, yes, he made himself some money in terms of the win percentage. And this team is still able to reach his goals, and Dak's going to be one of the main reasons. So, yeah, he made some money.
I don't think he got it. He wants $35 million. I don't think he inched any closer to that.
He wants $40 million.
I think he's Jane Slater says he's down to 35, I believe.
He's down to it.
He's down to 35. Anyway, Uncle Jimmy.
Said it before, I'm going to say it again.
I didn't have to ask.
I'm not a Dackery Fitzgerald Prescott fan.
Gotcha.
And look here, man, right about now, I'm starting to feel sorry for the dude. The boy's in over his head.
You feel sorry for Dak?
Look, he's in over his head, and he don't even know. Look here, look, we all know that Dak ain't no soul brother. But this right here.
Who said?
3 touchdowns?
Look, man, look, hush your mouth. We know that Dak ain't no soul brother. But what we got going on right now is about this brother's soul. The boy is playing a dangerous game with a dangerous man.
What?
Jerry Jones is a cold piece. Look, and he will stop at nothing until he gets this next Super Bowl ring. See, Jerry Jones is this ancient mythical figure who gets his life force from attaining Super Bowl rings.
Ancient?
It's kind of like you, nephew, you know, when you get your life force from onion rings. Now look I don't know if y'all done noticed, but if you look at Jerry Jones carefully, he's getting a little long in the fangs lately.
Oh, don't do it.
See, it's been about 25 years since he done got him a new ring. Now, I've been doing my research, you know, and I got me a little library card. It's in my son's name. And I done looked at every episode of the Ghost Whisperers. You know, now people don't play that, so therefore I think it makes me an authoritative figure in this matter. Let me just tell you straight up. This is a case of pure, unadulterated white magic.
Go ahead.
This is all white magic. We joke about black magic.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. White magic is different. It's far more punctual. Look at you can call it up at any time and just bam, and it's right there. Y'all didn't see it last night.
No.
Jerry Jones was up in the press box, bucket naked, clipping his toenails, speaking in tongue, drinking goat's blood, trying to do whatever he could do to put that bad juju on the New York Football Giants. And what happened? Bam! A baby panther appeared in the middle of the field.
That ain't no panther.
That's a
Hey,
cat.
man, that cat was pure evil. Nobody would touch it.
New Jersey cat.
That's true.
Look, man, I'm trying to tell you, Dak, you need to get as far away from Jerry Jones as possible. Hey, look here, man. You better get away from him before he offer your kneecaps up as a blood sacrifice like Andy Reid did Patrick Mahomes. Look, I told Patrick Mahomes, Patrick, get out. He didn't listen to me. Look at him. Now, Dak, you ain't nobody ever accused you of being the sharpest bowling ball in the drawer. You need to get out, boy.
All right, we've had enough, Uncle Jimmy.
Oh, my
I got
God.
Dak at a 69.
That's what I said.
Gronk loves it. Up 3 points in job performance to a 69. Role player.
64. Got love for Dak. Still making money even though, not the reason. Let's see. Are they
Tie on the internet, all-star and scout team.
Keep going on, Jimmy. What else happened?
Nothing.